Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all the praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations, much love and respect to you, Akim, out there pushing this word out in truth and sincerity. This is your brother Chayan Apash coming at you with another lesson. And this lesson is going to be entitled, What's Really Going On in Nigeria? Esau is Behind It. And, you know, when I first heard about this incident, I already knew in the spirit that E was behind this. When you understand E for a long enough time, you understand he does the same type of plays. He doesn't really change up his plays. It's really always the same moves. And this right here proves it. Okay, this American Republican Congressman Scott Perry reveals it. He goes into it, and the Nigerian people, they've been sounding the alarm on this as soon as they mentioned the things that were going on in Nigeria with the Christians. Okay, that's all a smoke screen. Okay, it's a distraction, and it's reason to take blame from what's going on with the Stinians, and also whatever else they want to extract from Nigeria. Clearly they most likely don't like this president that they have there, so they're getting ready to remove him. But this is nothing more than the tongue of Esau falling upon himself, and I'm going to get that scripture. But first, let's go ahead and play this. As a matter of fact, let me read the scripture first, and then I'll play this. This is Psalm 64 in verse verse 64. Psalm 64 and verse 2, excuse me. It says, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. Okay, that's the Edomites. Okay, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. Let's look up this word privily. Okay. See, so they commune of laying snares privily. That word for privily is sapar. Okay. It says to scribe, to tell, to declare, to number, to count, to recount, to relate, to count, to number, to take account of, reckon. Okay. To recount something, rehearse. Yeah, well, they know exactly what they're getting ready to do when they rehearse it before they do it. Well, that's what a someone that's subtle does. The word subtle, right, says that the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, right? Subtle means to be prudent. Okay, Esau is very prudent in laying his snares. See, but now we're in the time of him being revealed. See, so it says, they commune of laying snares privily. They say, oh, hold on now, hold on. Let's go back. Let's make sure that that's the correct word. Let's make sure that's the correct word, because there is an arrow pointing upward. Let's see if this word makes more sense for privily. Bait, lure. No, that's the snare. Okay, so that's not wrong. So that's it. Okay, so it means they count, or they're prudent. Okay, but let me look up the actual word of privily, because I don't think privily actually. I always thought privily meant private, privately, secretly. Yeah, it does mean secretly, but the word is to recount or to count. Mean, in other words, be diligent. Okay, to be diligent. All right. So, yeah. So with that, let's continue reading. Let's continue reading. It says, they say, who shall see them? They could search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. But the Most High shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly shall they be wounded. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. So yeah, so you got other Edomites, right, that are up in those high positions. The Heavenly Father's putting His Spirit on to reveal their plans and reveal the things that they've done. Okay, this is all through the Spirit. This is all through Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai's doings. So let's go ahead and play this.
Money. Does that name ring a bell to anybody who gets some of that money? Does that name ring a bell to anybody in the room? Because your money, $697 million annually, plus the shipments of cash funds madrasas, ISIS, Al Qaeda, Boko Haram, ISIS Khorasan, terrorist training camps. That's what it's funding. If you think that the program under Operation Enduring Sentinel, entitled Women's Scholarship Endowment, which receives $60 million annually, or the Young Women Lead, which gets about $5 million annually, is going to women who, by the way, if you read the Inspector General's report, is telling you that the Taliban does not allow women to speak in public. Yet somehow you're believing, and American people are supposed to believe, that this money is going for the betterment of the women in Afghanistan. It is not. You are funding terrorism, and it's coming through USAID. And it's not just Afghanistan, because Pakistan's right next door. USAID.
So you see, what they do is they have a different name, which obviously they're not going to send it to the Boko Haram bank account, right? So they in order to cover their trails, they have some sort of non-profit name that they put on these different things to seem like they're being benevolent and they're helping and it's aid. But we already know that the U.S. aid is not really aid, but a debt trap. Okay, a debt trap. That's all the U.S. aid is a debt trap ultimately. Okay, and they use it for other things as well, as he's going into to fund these different groups. Okay.
He spent $840 million in the last 20 years on Pakistan's education-related program. It includes $136 million to build 120 schools, of which there is zero evidence that any of them were built. Why would there be any evidence? The Inspector General can't get in to see them. But you know what? We doubled down and spent $20 million from USAID to create educational television programs for children unable to attend the physical school.
That's it, right? So there's no evidence of these things being built, but all this money is being sent. We know it's being sent to these other organizations. See, and these different Republicans will come out while the Democrats are in office and expose this thing about the government, and then when the Republicans are in, the Democrats will expose this thing about the government. But most of the things that are going on in the office is bipartisan, man. They both pretty much do the same things. There's a few things that they disagree on. Okay, because they're all doing the same. They're all playing the same game. The same way it was being funded back then. These things are being funded now. All right, so that they can have an excuse. They always have something in their back pocket to say, see, we got to go in and stop this. This man is the devil, man. We told you that already.
Yeah, they can't attend it because it doesn't exist. You paid for it. Somebody else got the money. You are paying for terrorism. This has got to end. I yield, Mr. Chairman.
Right. And in the comments, the Nigerian people know. They're like, "Where Nigerian? Where are the Nigerians that were shouting Trump should come in and help them?" All right. So Trump there. So during Trump there was no USA. Yeah, there was USA under Trump. Okay, it's the same. They always do the same thing. It doesn't matter who's in office. Matter of fact, let's go to Revelations the 13th chapter. Game that they're playing. Okay. This is Revelations 13 in verse 11. It says, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon." Right? That's the U.S. government. Okay, they have the horns like a lamb, right? They come in like a lamb, like they're coming to help. They're coming to save the world, right? Right. The two horns represent the Democrat, Republican on the same lamb, on the same beast, rather, right? But it speaks like a dragon. Okay, the things that they put forth, right, push forth are like dragons, the legislation, and so on and so forth. Okay, and that's even more evident versus in this Trump administration. Okay, so we told you they're all going towards the same goal, and the goal is ultimately for everyone to be micro C hipped. Okay, but it's also Esau's goal to constantly extract resources from these other nations and keep these nations poor. Okay, now this is the word for speak in the Greek. It says laeho. It says to utter a voice or emit a sound, to speak, to use the tongue or the faculty of speech. Okay, right? And that's what he does. He uses his, he makes it sound good, but the things that he's saying is that of a dragon. To utter, to articulate sounds. Excuse me, Salakia. To talk, to utter, tell, to use words in order to declare one's mind and disclose one's thoughts. Okay, and and that's what Esau has been doing. All right, Salakia, let me go ahead and move this camera. Let me go ahead and move this camera. Excuse me. So you can see what I'm looking at, right? So that's the word la ao. Okay. So this is what he's doing, man. The things that he's saying, the speeches that he makes, when you really listen to what Esau has to say, it's draconian, right? Going back to Draco, right? The Greek ruler named Draco, which was nothing more than an evil tyrant, okay, Edomite tyrant, and Donald Trump is coming in that spirit, okay? He's coming in that spirit. All right, so the bottom line is this is what Esau does worldwide. He comes, he sets up these groups, and then he uses that as an excuse to oppress a man in his heritage, okay, to take his goods, to take the substance that belongs to them. This is Micah 2 and verse 2. It says, matter of fact, I'll start at verse 1. It says, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man in his heritage. And when you go into heritage, or even vocab said, that's going into the land. Yeah, that is going into the land, right? A big part of a person's heritage, the main part rather, is the land. Okay? So they go and they extract the resources from the land through their different means of operation, like U.S. aid. Okay, like funding these groups to cause to destabilize it. So then they come in like heroes. By now, if in 2025 you don't understand that the so-called white man is not a hero, if you stupid Nigerians, okay, that are out there with you stupid Christian Nigerians like, yeah, Trump should come save us. If you don't understand that Esau's not coming, doesn't come to save you by now, brother, maybe you did evolve from monkeys. Okay, maybe you actually did come from monkeys. Holy fuck, bro. I mean, goddamn. But there's most of them Nigerians have sense. They're intelligent. So most of them were putting them videos out like this is this is not true. But it was them simple-minded Christians. It's like when you become a Christian, it's like you don't even use logic anymore. Okay? Some of them were saying, "Oh, Trump should come save us." You dummies, man. Okay? They set this whole thing up. That's the point. Now, let's go to my boy John Perkins, man. Let's listen to what he has to say about what Esau does worldwide, man.
We economic hitmen really have been the ones responsible for creating this first truly global empire. And we work many different ways. But perhaps the most common is that we will identify a country that has resources our corporations covet, like oil, and then arrange a huge loan to that country from the World Bank or one of its sister organizations. But the money never actually goes to the country. Instead, it goes to our big corporations to build infrastructure projects in that country, power plants, industrial parks, ports, things that benefit a few rich people in that country, in addition to our corporations, but really don't help the majority of the people at all. However,
right. So that, like he just said, it doesn't go to the people. It doesn't benefit the people. It goes to their corporations, And it also goes into the pockets of those leaders that they set up. Okay, and that keeps them in perpetual debt. He's going to go into it, but one thing he did not mention here, at least he didn't mention it here, was that it also funds these different groups to destabilize the country, which he might mention it later on, but I'm not playing too far into this because I know he speaks about that too. I'm sure he does, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, so that's another thing they do. They fund these different groups to destabilize the country, and that's what's going on in Nigeria. Let's go back a bit.
Things that benefit a few rich people in that country, in addition to our corporations, but really don't help the majority of the people at all. However, those people, the whole country is left holding a huge debt. It's such a big debt they can't repay it, and that's part of the plan, that they can't repay it. And so at some point, we economic hitmen go back to them and say, listen, you owe us a lot of money, can't pay your debt, so sell your oil real cheap to our oil companies. Allow us to build a military base in your country, or send troops in support of ours to someplace in the world like Iraq, or vote with us on the next UN vote. To have their electric utility company privatized and their water and sewage system privatized and sold to U.S. corporations or other multinational corporations. So there was that whole mushrooming thing, and it's so typical of the way the IMF and the World Bank work. They put a country in debt, it's such a big debt it can't pay it, and then you offer to refinance that debt and pay even more interest. And you demand this quid pro quo, which you call a conditionality or good governance, which means basically that they've got to sell off their resources, including many of their social services, their utility companies, their school systems sometimes, their penal systems, their insurance systems, to foreign corporations. So it's a double, triple, quadruple whammy.
That's how Esau operates, man. Okay. I said USA, but he was speaking about the IMF Bank, which that's owned by Esau. Okay, but USAID does the same similar things. It does the same thing. Okay, they play that same game. All right. So this man is the devil. And we're not ignorant of Satan's devices, man. You can't be ignorant of what Esau has going on, man. We're supposed to be watchmen, we're supposed to be judges. So we got to be able to see these things, man. So, Lord willing, this is edifying to the elect, and I'll say, I'll give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Hakwadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations, much love and respect to you, Akim, out there, pushing this word out in truth and sincerity. Shalom.